my name's Connor, and this is a 20-foot yurt that we built this spring. Let me take a look inside. Yeah, this is my little 20-foot yurt. I built all of the kitchen for it when we started. Kind of the thing that brings it all together is when I designed it, I initially thought I was going to have this L-shaped counter space, but when I was building it, it made so much sense to have this island here that when it came time to put it together, I just couldn't justify doing it. So I built an island that moves. So the island actually just slides in back there, and then you have that L shape that I initially was like anticipating making for the space. So it really opens it up too. Then you have obviously a lot more room to move around. Yeah, a little L shape. I had a few other things I did. Yeah, this makes the whole thing like a really nice space to gather around too, because people can just come hang out, and we can have dinner with 5 people around this, as opposed to it just being like this little special nook. And also, but I made like a shelf so that all like the heavy stuff that you normally put on this, all the heavy stuff we had on this actually, just fits on the little shelf. So you never actually like limited as to what you can keep on here. It's great. We got a big nice wool rug that we put down here when it's cozy. We want to get cozy. Put the refrigerator. We put ice blocks in the fridge and have it just on clasps like that, so it stays cool. Off grid. Little fireplace, loft beds. So we have Billy's little sleeping area underneath there. Used part of a greenhouse hoop for our closet. And that was it. You know, when you build a yurt, I don't know if you're familiar with like how, well, you've been in yurts, but like the philosophy behind a yurt, you can't really divide it into a square. It's not a square. So you have to think in pie shapes. So we've got the pie shape of the bed, the pie shape of like the books and the and the fireplace, and then the pie shape of the kitchen. And that's really all you need, really. I mean, what more could one want, really? We have been in here now, we arrived in March, and it probably took me a week to do the foundation and the deck, and then a day to set it up, but then another 3 weeks. So we've probably been in here for a month and a half, 2 months almost. Well, this isn't the final resting home for the yurt. So the idea behind getting yurt was it would be something that we could live in while we build our own tiny home. That probably won't be at this property, but we really wanted to have something that we could take down and put up and have an instant living structure, which is oftentimes why people get yurts. But we wanted to kind of ease into it in a way, so we knew that we'd have a lot of support having a household here. We weren't going to be moving onto the land and all of a sudden have all of these problems that you have when you want to live off grid. So we knew we'd have a nice little buffer transition there by being on our friend's land. So we've been able to kind of tweak it a little bit and see what we needed, see what we did want to use and what we didn't want to use. So it's been a perfect learning curve for that, just being able to see what things we really needed in the yurt and what things we didn't need. And so when we're ready to build this final resting home for the yurt, we'll have a really good idea of what that looks like. It gets really hot in here, so I made a really cool dome cover out of just a piece of hoop and some shade cloth, and it fits on. I'm going to change the lens obviously, but it fits on just like that. So it blocks out a lot of the light in the really, really hot part of the day. And it looks really cool too. So and then we did all the insulation ourselves. So all the insulation, it's normally like $2,000 to do all the insulation, but we bought all the double bubble wrap ourselves online, and then went to Joann Fabrics and got a bunch of drapery lining and made all of the pie shapes ourselves. So there's 32 sections that we put together to make 16 sections, and then we just laid them on top of the roof before we put the top on, and it was really simple. It saved us, $1,500 probably in material and time. And then I did, there's other parts of it too that I opted to do myself rather than purchase at a premium. It's shade cloth, so it actually like holds a lot of not only the heat back, but it holds a lot of the moisture in. So when we're cooking, it's not ideal because it'll actually just get really smoky up there. But it's a living thing. That's kind of the fun part about a yurt, is it's like doing all these things myself, it's been like a living process, you know. Like the first week we had this big condensation problem. So where's that coming from? Okay, pull the side cover up. Where are we finding the problems? And learning the way that the system works, because the way a yurt works is it's a canvas structure, so condensation is going to happen. It's inevitable. But what we're trying to mitigate that is by keeping an air gap between the outside of the structure and the insulation, so that all the moisture, if it does occur, will drain down, and likewise always keeping the dome open. So it's really important to keep the dome open so that the condensation doesn't form and then drip down your ceiling. So that was a really interesting thing to learn about in, of course, one of the wettest Oregon springs we've had in 100 years. How to mitigate moisture. So that's been kind of that. This thing is really cranking, yeah. So it's a small, actually made in Oregon, little local stove company that's unfortunately since gone out of business. But that's just a great little camp stove. All the fire bricks actually come out of it really easily. So it can break down, and the whole thing, it only weighs 250 pounds now, but when it breaks down, the body only weighs 110 pounds. So if you take all the bricks and all the facing out. So it's a really convenient size. But the idea behind also having wood fire in a yurt, which is really important, is that unlike propane heat, which causes a lot of condensation, wood fire is very dry. And having a larger fire than what will actually heat the yurt allows you to heat up the yurt really quickly and then vent the yurt, rather than having a fire that's just kind of ticking over, keeping the yurt just barely warm enough. Inevitably, because it's not a wood structure in the traditional sense of the word, it does cool down quicker than a normal house. So you do have to, when you see what the ratings are for a stove and what it can potentially do, how it will potentially heat a home, that's not directly translatable to how it will heat a yurt. You need to kind of heat almost a third more of the volume. Plan on trying to heat a third more of the volume than you actually have, and that way it'll always get warm enough, quick enough in here that you can either vent the building or you can stay cozy for a couple of hours, because it does get cold in the winter. And insulating the floor is a big thing too, so that's part of what I have recycled rigid foam insulation, 4-inch rigid foam insulation that I've been, as I get time, insulating underneath the yurt, and that makes a big difference. Because once the floor is insulated, that ends up where a lot of the heat loss is. A lot of the draft can come through and just pull the heat out, and so that was important. But we have a nice Oregon summer to think about all the different things we need to do. An awning will be the next thing we really need to do. The door just gets wet, which is not ideal. So, but all those things, you either pay for them or you make them yourself. And I've just opted to make all of those little additions myself rather than trying to pay for them. It just takes time, you know. If you got time, you can do pretty much anything you want for free or very cheap. But so this is what Pacific Yurts does their awnings. So I just took some vinyl cement and used they give you a bunch of extra canvas. So I just made sleeves with the vinyl, with the canvas, and then put these metal tubing inside of them to have a freestanding awning. But it's got a little bit of work to do. I just put this up today, and I wasn't really anticipating as much rain as we got either. And I realized quickly that it needs to be supported in one more spot too. But it's freestanding. It doesn't have all the stuff of the other 2 awnings I put up had to do. So hopefully that'll work.
Hey guys, it's Alexis.
And Christian.
Thank you very much for watching our video.
Yes, and subscribing to our channel.
And don't forget to check out more tiny house stories.
And tours.
Oh, and don't forget to join us on Patreon.
And again, don't forget to subscribe.
See you next time.
Take it easy, guys.